Since I was a little boy in Madeira, I understood something very important. Talent is a gift, yes, but it is not enough. Talent opens the door, but hard work is what keeps you inside the room. So many young players have talent, sometimes even more talent than me when I was young. I saw boys who could dribble faster, shoot with both feet, boys who people said would be the next star. But when I looked around years later, many of them were gone. Why? Because they believed talent alone was enough. They stopped working, they got comfortable, and football doesn't allow that. Life doesn't allow that. I told myself very early, Cristiano, you cannot stop, you cannot relax, because there will always be someone with talent. What makes you different is how much you are willing to work. For me, hard work is not just about training. It is a lifestyle. It is how I eat, how I sleep, how I recover, how I take care of every detail of my body. It is about discipline. When others were going out to parties, I was going to bed early, so I could train again in the morning. When others were happy with 1 or 2 hours of practice, I wanted 3, 4, 5 hours. People often see me score a goal and they think, wow, he makes it look easy. But they don't see the thousands of hours I have spent on the pitch alone, repeating the same movement again and again until it became automatic. That is the truth of hard work. It is invisible until the moment it pays off in front of millions. I remember when I first came to Manchester United, I was still a boy, skinny, and I heard people laughing at the way I played, the tricks, the style. They said I was too weak, too much of a showman. That made me hungry. I told myself, Cristiano, you will not only match them, you will surpass them. I lived in the gym. I worked on my body until no one could push me around. I worked on my mind until no criticism could affect me. And I worked on my game until I could change matches not with tricks, but with goals, with assists, with victories. That transformation was not talent. That was sweat. That was pain. That was commitment. People ask me what talent means to me. For me, talent is the beginning, not the end. If you only rely on it, you will be average. If you mix it with hard work, then you become great. And if you dedicate yourself so completely that your whole life revolves around improving, then you can become the best. That's why I always say, if talent doesn't work hard, it will lose to hard work. I didn't become Cristiano Ronaldo just because I was born with speed or good technique. I became Cristiano Ronaldo because I never stopped demanding more from myself. Hard work also means sacrifice. Many people want the result, but not everyone is willing to pay the price. For years, I sacrificed normal things that young men enjoy. I sacrificed comfort. I sacrificed being with my family sometimes. I sacrificed nights out, foods I liked, moments of rest, because I had a bigger dream. And every time I was tired or tempted to stop, I thought about that dream, to be the best in the world, to lift trophies, to make history. That dream gave me energy when my body had none left. Hard work is not glamorous. It's lonely. It's repetitive. It's painful, but it is the only road that leads to success that lasts. Even today, after winning everything, after scoring so many goals, I am still the same. I don't stop. I am the first in training and the last to leave. I am obsessed with improvement, with being better than yesterday. Some people laugh and say, why does he still work so hard? He has already proven himself. But that's the difference. I don't work only to prove to others. I work to prove to myself. I work because I respect the game. I work because I know every match is a chance to show my discipline, my preparation, my hunger. And I know there is always a younger player coming, dreaming to take my place. If I stop, if I relax, they will catch me. So I never give them that chance. Hard work also teaches you resilience. There are moments when you fail, when you miss a chance, when you lose a final. Talent alone cannot carry you through those moments. But hard work gives you the strength to come back. When I miss, I don't hide. I go back to training and I practice again. When I lose, I don't break. I use the pain to push myself further. Hard work makes you understand that failure is not the end. It is just another step in the process. That is why I have been able to play at the highest level for so long. because I never allow one setback to define me. Another thing about hard work is that it inspires others. My teammates see how much I give, how much I demand from myself, and it makes them raise their level too. Coaches know they can trust me because I am always prepared. Fans respect me not just because of goals, but because they know behind those goals there is a man who never stops working. Young players tell me they watch how I train, how I eat, how I live, and they learn from it. That makes me proud because I want to leave a legacy not only of talent, but of professionalism and commitment. And let me tell you something important. Hard work is not something you do once. It is something you repeat every day. Success is not permanent. The moment you think you are safe, you are finished. That is why I live with the same hunger I had as a boy in Madeira. I wake up every morning and I say, Cristiano, today you must work harder than yesterday. That is the mentality that has carried me through Sporting, Manchester, Madrid, Juventus, Portugal, and beyond. That is the mentality that has kept me at the top for 2 decades. I believe anyone can achieve great things if they are ready to put in the work. Maybe not everyone will play football like me, but in whatever field, the principle is the same. Talent opens the first door, but effort, discipline, sacrifice, and persistence will open all the others. Hard work is the universal key to success. So when people look at me and they see the goals, the trophies, the awards, I want them to understand. It is not magic, it is not luck. It is sweat, it is years of waking up early, years of saying no when it would have been easier to say yes, years of choosing discipline over comfort. That is how I turned the expectations of the world into my strength. That is why I say with all confidence, I believe in hard work more than talent, because hard work has never failed me and it never will. All my life I've been told what I cannot do. From the time I was a skinny boy on the island of Madeira, people looked at me and said, he's too small, too fragile, he won't make it. I remember hearing those voices. I remember seeing the doubt in their eyes, but instead of letting it break me, I let it drive me. I turned every doubt into fire inside of me. I made every criticism my motivation. I love proving people wrong because their disbelief gives me energy to show what I can do. When I left Madeira at a young age to go to Lisbon, it was not easy. I was far from my family, far from everything I knew, and many said I wouldn't last. They said I was just another boy with dreams that were too big for his circumstances. But every time I felt that loneliness, every time I missed home, I reminded myself, one day the same people who doubt me will see me on the biggest stages. One day they will say they were wrong. That thought kept me strong when I could have given up. When I came to Manchester United, I was still just a teenager. I had tricks, speed, a different style, and a lot of people said, he is selfish, he will never be effective. Some said I was just a showman, a player for highlights but not for winning. I heard those comments and I smiled inside, because I knew I would show them. I lived in the gym. I worked on my body until I was stronger than anyone. I worked on my finishing until goals became my answer to every doubt. And with time, the same people who criticized me started saying, this boy is special. That is what I love most, to turn doubt into respect through action. It has always been like this, even later in my career. When I went to Real Madrid, people said I would never be as good as the legends who played there. They said, La Liga is different, he will not dominate. I heard it again, the voices of doubt, and again I answered the only way I know how, with goals, with trophies, with records. Year after year, I proved that I was not only ready, I was capable of being one of the best in history. That's why I say I love proving people wrong, because it is like fuel for me. It makes me train harder, focus more, and show up stronger. Even after winning everything, the doubts never stopped. People said I was finished many times. When I got older, they said, he cannot keep playing at this level, he is past his best. I heard the whispers when I was 30, 31, 34. They said my body couldn't handle it, that I couldn't keep scoring, that younger players would take over. And every time I smiled, because I knew what was coming. I scored more goals, I won more trophies, I played at the top longer than most people imagined possible. That feeling of proving them wrong gave me more satisfaction than words can explain. For me, doubt is not a problem, it is a gift. When people doubt you, they give you a chance to grow. They give you the chance to surprise them. Many people run away from criticism, but I run towards it. I collect it, I remember it, and I turn it into energy. Every time I step onto the pitch, I carry those voices with me. The ones who said I couldn't make it, the ones who said I was done. And every time the ball hits the net, every time I lift a trophy, I feel like I am answering them without speaking a word. But proving people wrong is not only about the critics. It's also about proving something to yourself. When you hear so many voices saying you can't, sometimes a part of you begins to question if they are right. That is when you need to be strong. That is when you need to believe more in yourself than anyone else. I have always told myself, Cristiano, you know who you are, you know what you are capable of, and you will show it. Belief combined with hard work is unstoppable. I love proving people wrong because it also proves to me that my belief was not in vain. This mentality has shaped everything I do. In training, when I am tired, when my muscles burn, when my body says stop, I think of those who doubt me. I imagine their words, and suddenly I find extra strength. In matches, when the pressure is highest, when the moment comes where most players feel fear, I feel alive because I know this is my chance to show everyone again. When the world expects me to fail, that's when I deliver. That's when I feel truly like myself. Sometimes people ask me if it gets tiring to always have to prove something. My answer is simple. No, it gives me purpose. Life without challenges is boring. If everyone believed in me from the beginning, maybe I would not have this fire. But because there were always doubters, because there were always critics, I had no choice but to push myself beyond limits. Proving people wrong has kept me sharp, hungry, motivated, and humble enough to never take anything for granted. And it's not just about football, it's about life. Everyone has people who doubt them. Everyone has moments where others say, you can't do it. My message is, don't be angry at those people. Thank them, let them give you the fire you need to go further than you thought possible. Don't answer with words, answer with results. That is the best revenge. That is the sweetest satisfaction. I have lived my whole career under expectation, under criticism, under the eyes of millions. And still, every time, I love the chance to show once again what I am capable of. Because the truth is, proving people wrong never gets old. Each time I hear someone say I cannot, I think, perfect, another opportunity to show that I can. That's why I embrace doubt, why I welcome criticism. Because it gives me the chance to become better, stronger, sharper. Looking back, I am grateful for every person who doubted me. Without them, maybe I wouldn't have trained as hard. Maybe I wouldn't have pushed as much. Maybe I wouldn't be who I am today. They made me. They gave me the hunger. They gave me the fire. And in return, I gave them performances they never expected. That is the beautiful cycle of proving people wrong. So yes, I love it. I love the silence of critics after I score. I love the change in expression when someone who doubted me sees the result. I love the respect that comes after years of disbelief. But most of all, I love the journey it creates inside me. The hunger, the discipline, the drive. Because proving people wrong is not just about them. It is about becoming the best version of myself every single day. And that, for me, is the real victory. Pressure is something I have lived with my entire career. From the very first moment I stepped onto a professional pitch, there were eyes on me, people expecting me to do something special. Some players see that kind of pressure and freeze. They let it overwhelm them, they let it become fear. But I never allowed pressure to break me. Instead, I learned to use it. I take pressure and I transform it into focus, into clarity, into energy that drives me to deliver my best. When I was a boy playing in Madeira, there were already people watching, already saying, this kid is good, he could be something. For a child, those words can be heavy. You feel like you must perform every single time, like you cannot make mistakes. But instead of hiding from that weight, I started to train my mind to embrace it. I told myself, Cristiano, pressure means people believe in you. Pressure means opportunity. Every time I felt the expectation, I sharpened my concentration. I didn't think about the fear of failure. I thought about the chance to succeed. As my career grew, the pressure only got bigger. Playing for Manchester United at 18, walking into Old Trafford, playing in front of thousands in the stadium and millions on television. This was a completely different world. People expected magic. They wanted goals, assists, entertainment. Many young players would have cracked under that demand, but for me, it became motivation. On the pitch, with all the noise around me, I learned to quiet everything and focus only on the ball, the movement, the goal in front of me. I blocked out the crowd, the critics, the cameras. In my mind, it was simple: one ball, one chance, one objective. Pressure became focus. The same happened at Real Madrid. Imagine being signed for a world record fee, arriving at a club with the biggest history in the game, wearing the white shirt of legends. From the first day, everyone wanted to see if I was worth it, if I could carry that responsibility. Many said the price was too high, that no one could live up to it, but I never thought about the money or the comparisons. I thought about my job: score goals, win matches, help the team. Every game felt like a test, but instead of fear, I felt calm. I prepared myself so well that when the moment came, the pressure didn't crush me. It made me sharper. I turned the noise into silence inside my head, and in that silence, there was only focus. Pressure is highest in big moments. Finals, decisive games, penalty kicks, free kicks in the last minutes. That's when the world holds its breath, waiting to see if you deliver or fail. For me, those are the moments I live for. I want the ball when the stakes are highest, because I know that when everyone else is nervous, when everyone else feels the weight, I can remain focused. I can block out the fear and see clearly what I need to do. I love those moments because they reveal the truth. Pressure exposes players. It shows who is strong and who is not. And I always want to be the one who shows strength. How do I do it? It is not magic. It is preparation. I prepare so much in training. I repeat situations so many times that when I am in the game, I already feel like I've lived that moment before. When I stand over a free kick in a final, I have taken that kick 1,000 times in training. When I run through on goal, I already know my options because I have practiced them over and over. Preparation turns pressure into routine. That is why I can focus in the hardest moments, because my body and my mind already know what to do. Another important part is controlling emotions. Pressure can make you too excited, too nervous, too aggressive. You must learn to channel that energy without letting it control you. I taught myself to breathe, to center my mind, to think about the task instead of the fear. When the stadium is screaming, when millions are watching, I don't hear them. I hear my own thoughts. Run here, shoot there, move now. Pressure sharpens me. It makes me even more alive in the moment. Of course, there are times when pressure is enormous. Playing for Portugal, wearing the captain's armband, knowing a whole nation is depending on you. That is weight you can feel in your bones. At Euro 2016, at the World Cup in qualifiers, every match carried the hopes of millions. That could crush you if you think too much about it. But instead, I always told myself, this is not a burden, this is an honor. If people expect you to deliver, it means you have earned their trust. And the best way to honor that trust is to stay calm, stay focused, and give everything. That mindset has carried me through the toughest international moments, from heartbreaks to triumphs. Even in the darkest moments, when I have been injured, when I have lost finals, when critics were loudest, pressure has been my teacher. It reminded me that nothing is guaranteed, that you must always be prepared. It gave me reasons to come back stronger, reasons to train harder. Instead of running from it, I embraced it, because the truth is, pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is proof that you are important, that you matter. If nobody expects anything from you, that is when you should worry. Turning pressure into focus is also about discipline in daily life. Every choice I make, what I eat, when I sleep, how I train, is part of preparing for those big moments. If I live carelessly, then pressure will expose me. But if I live with discipline, then pressure has no power over me. It becomes fuel, not fear. That is why I have maintained this level for so many years, because I never underestimate the importance of preparation, of routine, of controlling what I can control. I know that many people outside football also feel pressure. In jobs, in school, in life decisions, and my message is the same. Pressure is a chance to show what you are made of. Don't let it paralyze you. Break it down, focus on the task, and trust your preparation. When the pressure feels unbearable, tell yourself, this is my moment to grow. This is my chance to prove myself. With that mindset, pressure becomes your ally. Looking back at my career, I see that the moments of highest pressure were also the moments of greatest joy. Finals, decisive goals, trophies lifted, none of those would mean anything without the weight of expectation. Without pressure, victory is empty. It is precisely because there was so much at stake, so much to lose, that the wins became unforgettable. That is why I say I thrive on pressure, because it gives meaning to success. For me, pressure is not a storm to survive, it is the air I breathe. It keeps me alive, it keeps me sharp, it keeps me hungry. I don't fear it, I welcome it. Because every time the world expects me to deliver, I know that if I focus, if I trust myself, I will rise to the moment. And that feeling, that silence in the mind, that sharpness in the body, that explosion when the goal goes in, is the greatest feeling in the world. That is why I can say with absolute confidence, pressure has never been my enemy, it has always been my partner. I take it, I hold it, and I turn it into focus. And with that focus, I create the moments that define my career and my life. All my life, the person who has demanded the most from me has never been a coach, a teammate, or a fan. It has always been me. From the moment I began to dream about becoming a professional footballer, I set standards for myself that were higher than anything anyone else expected of me. I have never been satisfied with being good. I have never been comfortable with being one of the best. I have always wanted to be the best, and that desire comes from within. I demand the best from myself because I know that without that hunger, without that discipline, talent means nothing. When I was a boy in Madeira, I would spend hours after training alone with the ball. Nobody asked me to do that. My coaches didn't tell me to stay longer. My family didn't push me. It was me telling myself, Cristiano, this is not enough. Do more, repeat it again, run faster, shoot harder, jump higher. That inner voice has never left me. Even after winning trophies, after breaking records, after hearing people call me the best in the world, I still hear that same voice reminding me that I can be better tomorrow than I was today. People sometimes ask me why I still train so hard after all these years, why I still live with such discipline when I have already achieved everything. The truth is, achievements fade quickly in my mind. The moment I score a goal, I am already thinking about the next one. The moment I lift a trophy, I am already hungry for the next. That is the mentality of someone who demands the best from himself. I never allow myself to relax, because I know that the moment I relax, the hunger dies, and with it, the level drops. I also know that football is not forgiving. If you stop pushing yourself, the game will leave you behind. There are always younger players, always new stars, always competition waiting to take your place. That is why my standards are higher than anyone else's. I cannot control what other players do, but I can control what I demand from myself. And for me, good is never enough. Great is never enough. Only excellence, only consistency, only giving everything every single day. That is the level I expect. This is not just about training or matches. It is about my whole life. I demand the best from myself in how I eat, how I sleep, how I recover, how I prepare mentally. Every detail matters. If I cut corners, even small ones, I will feel it on the pitch. That is why I treat my body like a machine. I give it the right fuel, the right rest, the right care. I demand discipline from myself because I know that in football, 1% can make the difference between winning and losing, between being remembered and being forgotten. Of course, living this way is not easy. It means sacrifice. It means saying no to things that most people would enjoy. It means being strict with yourself when nobody is watching. There were nights when my friends were going out and I stayed home. There were mornings when I was exhausted but still forced myself to train. There were days when I could have taken it easy, but I chose to push harder. That's what it means to demand the best from yourself. It's not comfortable, it's not always fun, but it is necessary. And the reward is worth it, because the reward is knowing you gave everything, that you didn't waste your potential. Sometimes people think demanding the best from yourself means never being happy, never being satisfied. But that's not true. I enjoy my achievements, I am proud of what I've done, but I never let that pride turn into comfort. The moment you start thinking you are good enough, you stop growing. For me, joy comes from the pursuit itself, the training, the preparation, the chase for improvement. Every day, I wake up and ask myself, how can I be better today? That question drives me, and it keeps me alive inside. Demanding the best from yourself also means being honest with yourself. It means not making excuses. If I miss a chance, I don't blame the pitch. I don't blame the weather. I don't blame my teammates. I look in the mirror and I ask, Cristiano, why did you miss? What can you do better? That honesty is hard because it forces you to confront your weaknesses, but it is also powerful because it gives you the chance to fix them. Many players hide from their flaws. I face mine and I demand that I overcome them. That is how I have grown year after year. It is not enough to be talented. It is not enough to be popular. What matters is what you demand from yourself when no one is watching. I always tell young players this. The difference between success and failure is not what you do on the big stage. It's what you do in the quiet moments when nobody is there to cheer for you. Do you still train hard? Do you still focus? Do you still push yourself? That is where greatness is built. That is where champions are made. I know that some people think I am obsessed, that I take things too seriously. Maybe they are right, but I would rather be obsessed and reach the highest level than be casual and settle for less. My obsession is my gift, because it ensures I never give less than everything. Demanding the best from yourself means never settling, never accepting mediocrity. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. This mentality has carried me through the hardest times. When I lost finals, when I faced injuries, when critics said I was finished, it was my own standards that brought me back. I never waited for someone else to motivate me. I never relied on praise from outside. My own expectations were enough. I told myself, Cristiano, you are not done. You can still give more, and every time I pushed myself until I proved it. Demanding the best from yourself also means leadership. When teammates see how hard you work, when they see how much you sacrifice, they are inspired to raise their own standards. I cannot tell others to give their all if I don't give mine first. That is why I always lead by example, why I always try to show through my actions what it means to give everything. I don't just demand the best from myself for me, but also for those around me, for the team, for the fans, for the game. At the end of the day, my career is not defined only by goals or trophies. It is defined by the standard I set for myself and how I lived up to it. That is what gives me pride. Because records will one day be broken. Trophies will one day belong to someone else. But the mentality of demanding the best from myself will stay with me forever. That is the true legacy I want to leave, not just the numbers, but the example of what it means to never accept less than your maximum. So when I look back, I don't just see the victories, I see the hours of work, the sacrifices, the discipline. I see the boy in Madeira demanding more from himself when nobody believed in him. I see the man who never allowed success to make him soft, who never allowed comfort to weaken him. And I know that is the reason I have reached this level and stayed here for so long, because no matter what others expected, My own expectations were always higher. That is why I can say with conviction, I demand the best from myself always. It is not about being perfect. It is about giving everything, about pushing to the absolute limit. It is about knowing that when the day is done, you left nothing behind, that you honored your talent, your opportunity, your dream. That for me is the meaning of greatness. Leadership is something I never asked for, but it is something I grew into because of the expectations, the experiences, and the demands of the game. From a very young age, I understood that talent and hard work might put me in the spotlight, but once you are there, people look to you not just to perform, but to inspire, to guide, to carry weight. That goes beyond your own role. I have never run away from that. I have always embraced responsibility, because to me, responsibility is not a burden. It is proof that people trust you, that people believe you can make the difference when it matters most. When I step on the pitch, I know millions of eyes are on me, waiting for what I will do. I know my teammates look at me when the game is difficult, when the score is against us, when the clock is ticking down. They expect me to do something, to lead, to show the way, and I love that. I love being the one who takes the ball when everyone else hesitates. I love being the one who stands over a free kick in the last minute. I love being the one who carries the weight of expectation, because I know that in those moments, true leaders are revealed. It is easy to play when you are winning 3-0, when the pressure is light. But when the game is balanced on a knife's edge, when the entire stadium is tense, that is when responsibility comes knocking, and I want to be the one who answers. Leadership is not just about scoring goals or shouting on the pitch. It is about how you live every day, how you set the standard for others. I know that my teammates watch how I train, how I eat, how I prepare. They see the discipline, the sacrifices, the obsession with improvement. And by living this way, I set an example. I cannot tell others to give their all if I don't give mine first. I cannot demand discipline from them if I don't live with it myself. Leadership starts with yourself, with being the model of what you expect from the team. That is why I always push myself so hard, not only for me, but because I know others are watching, and I want to inspire them to raise their level too. Wearing the captain's armband for Portugal is one of the greatest honors of my life, but also one of the greatest responsibilities. When you play for your country, you are not just playing for a club. You are carrying the hopes of a nation. You are representing millions of people, from children dreaming in the streets to elders who have watched the game for decades. That weight is heavy, but it is also beautiful. To be trusted with that role is something I do not take lightly. And as captain, I have always tried to lead not just with words, but with actions. With my determination, my will to fight until the end, my refusal to give up even when the situation looked impossible. Euro 2016 was the perfect example of what responsibility means. In the final, I had to leave the pitch early because of injury. For me, that was one of the hardest moments of my career, to watch from the sideline when I wanted so badly to help on the field. But even then, I knew my role as a leader didn't end when I stopped playing. I stood by the bench, I shouted encouragement, I guided, I inspired. I gave everything I could with my voice and my energy. Because responsibility is not only about scoring the winning goal, it is about being there for your team in every way possible. And when we lifted that trophy, I knew I had fulfilled my role, not as just a player, but as a leader who carried the spirit of the team until the very last moment. Responsibility also means accepting criticism, accepting pressure, accepting that when things go wrong, leaders are the first to be questioned. I have lived with that my entire career. When we win, it's often the team. When we lose, it's often Ronaldo. And I accept that. I don't hide from it. I take it because I know that responsibility comes with being the leader, with being the one people look at. That is part of the price of greatness, and I am willing to pay it. For me, it is better to carry the weight and sometimes fall than to avoid the weight and never rise. Another side of leadership is how you deal with younger players. Over the years, I've seen many young talents come into the teams I played for. They look at me as someone who has already achieved everything, and I know they watch every move I make. That is why I try to guide them not only by telling them to work hard, but by showing them what it means to be a professional, to live with dedication, to never be satisfied. I try to remind them that talent is not enough, that discipline is the key. Some listen, some don't, but my role as a leader is to, at least, give them the example. Because one day, they will have to carry the responsibility too. Leadership is also about uniting the team. Not every player has the same personality, the same background, the same motivation. As a leader, you must understand this and still bring everyone together under one goal. Sometimes it means pushing, sometimes it means encouraging, sometimes it means being tough. It is not always easy, but it is necessary. I have had moments where I had to be demanding, where I had to say things that were not comfortable, but always for the good of the team. Because real leadership is not about being popular. It is about doing what is needed to make the team succeed. I know that when history looks back at me, people will talk about the goals, the records, the trophies. But what means just as much to me is the role I played as a leader. The times I took responsibility, the times I stood tall when others looked for someone to guide them, the times I showed that leadership is not only about glory, but also about sacrifice. Responsibility has shaped me. It has made me stronger, more disciplined, more resilient. It has given me a sense of purpose beyond myself, and that is why I embrace it, because without responsibility, there is no growth. Without responsibility, there is no greatness. Leaders are not born. They are made, forged in moments of pressure, of doubt, of challenge. I have lived those moments, and each one has taught me how to carry more, how to lead better, how to inspire deeper. So yes, I embrace responsibility as a leader always. I embrace it because it makes me better. I embrace it because it helps my team succeed. I embrace it because it shows respect for the game, for the fans, for my country. And I embrace it because I know that when the final whistle blows and my career is finished, people will not only remember the goals I scored, but also the responsibility I carried, the leadership I showed, and the way I gave everything to those who believed in me. When I think about expectations, I do not see them as something temporary, as something that disappears after a match or a season. I see them as something that lives beyond the moment, something that becomes part of your story, your name, your legacy. From the beginning of my career, people have expected things from me. They expected me to score goals, to win trophies, to carry teams. And as I delivered, those expectations only grew. Some people might think it is a burden to live with that, but for me, it is the greatest honor. Because expectations mean that people believe in you, that they trust you to be the difference. And over time, those expectations turn into the mark you leave behind. As a boy in Madeira, nobody knew my name. Nobody expected anything from me except to be another kid with a dream. But slowly, as I played, as I trained, as I showed glimpses of what I could do, expectations started to build. First from my family, then from my coaches, then from scouts, then from clubs. And I realized something important. The higher you climb, the more people expect. The more you deliver, the more they demand, and instead of running from that, I embraced it. Because every expectation was not just a challenge for today, but a brick in the foundation of the legacy I wanted to create. At Manchester United, I felt that shift clearly. I arrived as a teenager, and suddenly, people expected me to follow the path of legends. They expected me to grow quickly, to contribute, to shine. I knew that if I worked hard, if I embraced those expectations, I could carve my place in history, not just as another player who wore the shirt, but as one who honored it. Every expectation from fans, from teammates, from Sir Alex Ferguson, was a responsibility, but also an opportunity to build something lasting. And when we won trophies together, when I scored in finals, when I became more than a young talent, I understood that the expectations were shaping my story. Then came Real Madrid, and with it, the biggest expectations of my life. When you arrive at the biggest club in the world for a record fee, wearing the shirt of legends, you know that every move will be judged, every performance will be measured. People didn't just expect me to score goals, they expected me to redefine what was possible. They expected me to lead Madrid back to the very top. And I welcomed that pressure because I knew that fulfilling those expectations would not just make me successful in the moment, it would make me part of the club's legacy forever. That is why I pushed myself to break records, to lift Champions Leagues, to score goals season after season. Not only for myself, but to leave behind something that would live longer than my career. Expectations are not just about statistics. They are about how you inspire, how you represent something bigger than yourself. With Portugal, the expectations have always been massive, because people dream of seeing their country succeed on the biggest stage. For many years, we came close but never achieved it, and every time we played, the expectations of the nation weighed heavily. Some might call it pressure, but I saw it as history waiting to be written. When we finally lifted the European Championship in 2016, it was not just about that tournament. It was about decades of hope, decades of expectation, finally becoming reality. That moment became part of Portugal's legacy and part of mine. The truth is, expectations never end. Even now, after scoring hundreds of goals, after lifting so many trophies, people still expect me to deliver. They expect me to score every game, to lead every team, to keep performing no matter my age. And I welcome it, because it means I have built a reputation so strong that people still believe in my ability. Some players run from those expectations as they get older, but I embrace them as a reminder of what I've done and what I can still do. They are not a weight on my shoulders, they are proof that my legacy is alive. Legacy is not only about records and medals. It is about the standard you leave for others. Expectations are part of that standard. When a young player looks at me and sees how much people expect from me, it teaches them something, that if you work hard, if you stay disciplined, if you never give up, you can earn that same respect. Expectations become a gift you pass on to the next generation, because they show what is possible when you dedicate yourself fully. That is why I live with such professionalism, because I know my actions don't only affect me. They inspire others, and they shape how I will be remembered. Of course, expectations can be heavy. They can make you tired. They can make you feel like nothing you do is enough. But I choose to see them differently. I see them as respect, as recognition. If people expect a lot from me, it is because I have given them reasons to expect it. That is not a curse, it is a compliment. And I will always honor that by continuing to fight, to train, to play at the highest level until I can no longer. Because I want my legacy to be one of consistency, one of commitment, one of never letting expectations go unanswered. When I am finished playing, people will remember the goals, the trophies, the celebrations. But what I hope they remember most is how I embraced expectations, how I never hid from them, how I turned them into strength. Because that is the true definition of legacy, not just what you achieved, but how you carried the responsibility that came with it. Expectations have been my constant companion. From a boy in Madeira to a man who has played on the greatest stages, they have always followed me. And I have never seen them as chains. I have seen them as wings. They have lifted me higher. They have given me purpose. They have shaped every decision I made. Without them, I would not be who I am. With them, I have become someone who will be remembered long after the final whistle of my career. So yes, I see expectations as legacy, because when people expect the best from you and you rise to meet it again and again, you write a story that will never be erased. You build something bigger than yourself, and when you are gone, those expectations remain, passed on to others, proving that greatness leaves a mark that time cannot take away. That is the legacy I want to leave behind, not only the records, not only the titles, but the example of someone who embraced expectations, transformed them into victories, and turned them into a legacy for the world to remember.